Hello fellow tankers, this is Dauntless, and welcome to Scout Guide. For this episode, I'll be showing you guys how to effectively spot on the map Erlenberg. Now Erlenberg is split by a river right down the middle, as you all know. There's a northern base that kind of dominates the western side, and a southern base that dominates the eastern side. This is why 9 times out of 10, if you spawn in the north, you're going to want to spot for the northern side, because most of your tanks will go this way and take the east. Now this is my favorite location personally because you have the elevation advantage. There is another location that you can use that I'll show you right after this, but I personally like taking this one just because you are up high, you have these bushes that will protect you, and you're able to get a lot of spots onto the enemies as they push. And you are going to want to kind of push forward, come back, rock back and forth, because there are some bushes in the way that will prevent you from spotting everything. But this will allow you to light up a majority of the tanks that are going to be pushing across, allowing your team to get good damage in. Alright, so the second location you can take that is slightly more aggressive, but it does have the benefit of having a building that you can hide behind in case you get lit and there's a lot of arty on the enemy team like this matchup here, is this location here. Now this location has this bush. The downside to it is that you have to climb up quite high in order to get effective spots on the enemy. The other location over here is already elevated, so you don't have to really climb up like this in order to get lights. But the benefit of this location, as you can see, other than the building, is the fact that you can spot things very deep. In the other location, your view range really only extends just right to this edge here, but here you can aggressively spot things that are trying to avoid being lit by, pushing all the way down the K line. Alright, so once you've exhausted either of these locations, and by exhausted I mean there's really nothing left to shoot at for your team over here to spot, you're going to want to fall back. And when you fall back, you're going to want to just go low like this, because again, you will be shot at, but if you go high, you have a much higher chance of being shot at. So sit a few seconds and wait to get unlit. And this is the bush that you're going to be sitting in here. A lot of times, you might have played this bush before, but maybe not as a light tank. When you sit up in this bush as a light tank, you get great vision down into this valley, as well as across the river over here. And any vehicles that are going to be sitting on the hill, you'll be able to light. You'll be able to extend your view range even in between this castle area here. And any vehicles that are going to be pushing across or even pushing up, you'll be able to effectively spot. Vehicles that might be coming through here or even pushing down this road, sitting in this location, you'll be able to light them up very effectively for your team, and you'll be able to rake in a lot of assist damage. In my opinion, sitting here as a light tank, especially when you don't have any vehicles pushing up this aggressively, this is a huge benefit for your team because you know exactly what's pushing up, and your artillery will again be able to shoot. If you are just derping around the map and just kind of lighting random things, you might not be as effective for your team. But sitting in this bush, you've seen I've already got 5,000 spot damage for this, and the game really has just started. So I'm sure a lot of you have been in this position where the 1-2 line gets completely taken and you have no choice but to fall back. A lot of the time, you'll still have some team members that are alive, and whether you're playing Assault or Standard on this map, it's a very good idea to sit in this bush here. The enemies have no idea you're sitting here, and you're going to be able to light these guys up all day long for your team. All your tank destroyers that you have camped back there, you're going to give them great lights and effectively help win the battle while raking in a ton of assist damage in the meantime. So if you haven't known this already, it's okay to be brave, but it's okay to run too. And in a light tank, you're able to relocate, so take advantage of that. If you see this flank has completely fallen, scoot down real quick, get yourself into this bush, and you'll be able to rake in tons of assist damage as long as you have guns sitting on that A line. Alright, next we're going to look at how to spot when you spawn on the southern base. Now, in my opinion, the southern base isn't as great for getting assist damage as the northern base. Depending on how your team play, you can get some good assist damage, but it's just not as effective as getting those initial spots. Just because the angle that your team has in shooting tanks that might push across here like this location really depends on your allies sitting here and shooting across, which not a lot of players like to do. Now, I know a lot of players also like to sit down in this bush and spot when they're in light tanks. I don't recommend this just because you don't have the elevation. Sitting in this location, you can actually see over this ridge line right here and get spots on vehicles that are going to be pushing across. Again, not a lot of opportunities here for your allies to shoot, but your artillery will be able to put down some fire. And again, some vehicles will be pushing up here, and your allies in the area will be able to shoot for you. Alright, so once you've lit everything that's going to be possibly pushing across here, push up into this area here. This will allow you to keep the things that are driving across lit just a little bit longer by just peeking over this ridge here. Once the enemies have all eventually gathered up into this area, back up, or you can go either way. I like to back just up just because you get to go into this bush backwards. In case you get lit, you can make a quick escape. But this will effectively give you lights onto anything that's going to be down here poking up and shooting. This guy down here, this M4190, is also lighting some of these targets, but what he's doing is extremely risky, and he's really not able to just get lights on everything that might be deep down there. He's just kind of peeking up and coming back down. But when you're sitting here, you're high enough to where you can actually spot things, and this will give you a lot of lights. Now, alternatively, this is a bush that you can actually sit on when you spawn on the north. If you have a lot of tank destroyers that are going to be sitting here, if you come up from the north base and sit in this bush, you can actually light things that are going to be here, up here, down here. You'll be able to get a lot of good eyes, but this is very dependent on what you have pushing down here. And again, a lot of tanks do push very aggressively up here, so you get lit really easily if you're not careful. And because there is a little bit of a distance from getting away, make sure you're parked pointing this way, and there's a chance of getting killed if you sit here from the north. But this bush can be played both north and south, so remember that in case you have a lot of tank destroyers pushing here and you want to try to help the 9-0 line. Alright, so there's one more location that you can take when you spawn on the southern base, and this is an alternative to pushing up into D8, D9 area. This location isn't as good as pushing up to the north, but when you do take it, it does expose anything that might be sitting here, and which will allow your artillery to work, as well as tank destroyers and other tanks that might have pushed this side with you that's sitting up on this hill. So it's very important that you take this specific bush, because if you don't, you will get lit very easily. And also, if anything pushes up down the F1 G1 road, you will get lit. And this is the location exactly right here. And when you sit in it, you want to make sure you pull forward just enough to make this bush in front of you transparent. This will give you vision into everything down here. Now, there is a lot of bushes, but whenever they fire their gun, you will be able to spot them. Alright, so just like I showed you with the north base, when you were playing the south base and the whole western region gets taken, there is a bush up here by the cap that you can sit in that will help you light anything that might be trying to take your cap. Now, this is very important that you sit there in a light vehicle, because lighting these vehicles for your allies and preventing them from crossing this bridge is very, very important to trying to win the game. I mean, on top of that, you'll get some awesome spot damage as well. But I like to back into my bushes just because if I do get lit, I'll be able to drive forward and get myself into this little depression here. And if there are already, it's safe to drive around in circles. Don't just back up, but actually drive around and then come back when you're unlit. But as you can see with the Centurion Action X that is trying to push across the bridge here, artillery and tank destroyers are able to just really chew them up. And when their team sees that, oh crap, our guys are getting killed really fast, it will make them hesitant from pushing any further. If the enemy is allowed to get up into these buildings, they can light anything that might be here, and then more tanks will be able to push through, and effectively you will be surrounded. So this location is extremely important to take when you're in a light tank, and it will again give you a lot of assist damage in the meantime. Anyway guys, hopefully you found this guide to spotting on Erlenberg helpful. If you did, if you give it a like down below, I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my channel for more content like this in the future. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. You've been awesome, and I'll talk to you guys later.